turn to 1 Peter. 1 Peter chapter 1. I want to read into your hearing verse 13 through 16. Once you have it, say, I have it. Reads as follows. Wherefore, gird up the loins of your mind. Be sober and hope to the end for the grace that is to be brought unto you at the revelation of Yeshua HaMashiach. Text says Jesus Christ. As obedient children, not fashioning yourselves according to the former lust. Somebody say the former lust. According to the former lust in your ignorance. But as he which have called you is holy, so be ye holy in all manner of conversation, because it is written, be ye holy, for I am holy. I know we in the dispensation of grace, but we still need holiness. Do you understand what I'm saying? Holiness is still right. You can take your seats. And so, in our last installment of No Quarter, I come to you from a topic of no quarter for the former lust. No quarter for the former lust. The text reveals that sobriety on all gates is a must. Text says, prepare the mind, brace it up, and have clarity. Not inebriated by pride or power. So when the word is talking to us about sobriety, it's talking about a few things, and I want to talk about those few things. So we don't want to be inebriated by pride or power. How many know that you can be drunk off pride and power? There are some so-called believers, that are inebriated, they are intoxicated, they are under the influence, they are drunk with power. Sometimes people look for positions in your life. Sometimes they look for positions in the workplace. They look for positions in relationships, not because they want to have right relationships, but because they want to have power. They want to have influence. And pride is a deadly entity. And I think we're all aware of that. Pride will sneak up on you. Pride is crafty in its approach. Because pride won't come in the front door oftentimes. It'll creep in through the side. It'll come through auxiliaries. It'll come through other relationships. It'll come through your talent. It'll come through your gifting. It'll come through yourself. Does that make sense? And so pride is one of those things. We know pride comes before what? The fall. Pride comes before destruction. And so anytime we start entertaining pride, we're entertaining destruction. And so that's when you sense pride, when you feel pride, you have to eliminate it. You have to disarm it immediately. Do you understand what I'm saying? We don't need to be intoxicated by poverty and pain. Let me break it down. So here's another intoxicant. Poverty is an intoxicant because a poverty mindset will make you purchase more than you have room for. There are people that in impoverished situations, and they seem to be the ones that have all the new gear. Isn't that something? It's the people that are in poverty that have all the new stuff and the trendy stuff. Like, how is it that you are in debt, but you got everything new that comes out? You got a Gucci belt and Jordans on, but you're in poverty. Your house looks like it's in shambles, but you look like $1 million. How can you look like $1 million and be broke? That's because you put all your value into your appearance instead of your person. Do you understand? Don't put value in your appearance over the value of your person. We have to invest in us In a time such as this, when we come corporately and we hear the word of God, you are investing into yourself for the benefit of the kingdom. Somebody say amen. So poverty is an intoxicant, and I think we all know that pain is intoxicating. Anytime somebody hurts you or you get hurt or you become injured, what happens? That changes your thought pattern sometimes. Pain will make your perception warped. When you've been hurt, we've all heard the adage, hurt people. Before you were hurt, you didn't want to hurt nobody. But the minute that you experience hurt, you want to hurt another person. Some people even go so far as to hurt themselves. Why? Because pain is an intoxicant. It'll take you out of your normal thought pattern. It'll take you out of your normal process. Because what happens to you when you get hurt? Come on, be real with me. What happens when you get hurt? The first thing that happens if you stub your toe, you don't even have a second thought, do you? When you stub your toe, you don't be like, let me see what I want to do about this situation. That's not what you do. Come on. When you stub your toe, you don't sit there and be like, hold on, wait. Let me discern what it is that I need to do right about now. No, you don't do that. What do? You move immediately to the site of the pain. I hope that y'all hear what I'm saying. And sometimes what we do errantly in the spirit is move to the site of the pain. It's not that I need to move immediately to the site of the pain. I need to move immediately to the site of the potter. Because the potter is the one that can, I'm not saying that you can't grab your toe when you stub it. I'm just saying sometimes all we do is overreact. We overreact and we underperform. We underperform because we don't think about the processes that this text is giving us. It says be sober, and automatically some of us already go to under the influence, poison that people put into their body. But I'm telling you, pride is a poison. Poverty is a poison. Pain is a poison if you let it be. Do you understand what I'm saying? So we don't want to be under the influence of any poison whatsoever, whether it be substance abuse, and you can abuse any substance. If you drink too much water, you will drown. Do you understand what I'm saying? You can abuse any substance. Too much sugar will kill you. Too much fat will kill you. It's substance abuse. And some of us are putting ourselves in unhealthy situations because our appetites are inordinate. Are you hear what I'm saying? A key work and warfare of the believer lies within the guardianship and government of the mind. It's the government of the mind is how we now make decisions. It's a decision trigger. Do you understand what I'm saying? We can't let everybody lay on the trigger of our decisions. You ought to be the one that decides to pull the trigger on every action that you have. Do you understand what I'm saying? No one should be able to pull. They pressing my buttons. Why do they have access? Why does somebody have that much access to you? And we got a programmer, we got a geek, if you will, in the house that understands that it's all about the code. If you put certain things in that code, it'll hack your system out, won't it? It'll mess your system up if you let and again, it's that access that gets us into trouble. So who has access to your buttons? It's interesting when somebody can push your buttons, but God cannot. The word can't push your buttons, but gossip does. Slander pushes your buttons, but truth does not. Reality TV pushes your buttons. But let the man of God, the woman of God come and give you, he ain't saying nothing. If I can't push your buttons, this code is not going to work. And this is a code of conduct. Hey. Understand this. Sobriety is our responsibility in honor to God. Sobriety is our responsibility in honor to God. Grace is God's generosity in aid to us. So I need to understand that sobriety. Say, sobriety is my responsibility. He says, be ye sober. You need to be sober. That means that I need to have my mind clear. That means that I need to stay away from intoxicants. I can't allow myself to be inebriated by arrogance and pride. Because arrogance will keep you stupefied. Stupefied. Do you understand what I'm saying? Pride will leave you in ignorance to protect itself. Because pride doesn't want to change. Pride doesn't want to change. Pride wants to be exactly where it is. Pride wants to be exactly who it is. Pride doesn't want to change. So anytime you become resistance to a change brought to you by the word of God, you are entertaining pride. I don't want to change that about me. You are entertaining pride. I'm talking about from the word of God. Do you understand what I'm telling you? So the word of God ought to make us want to get rid of pride, because the Bible never speaks favorably on pride. Never. Not once. It's interesting how some people use that as their slogan. I'm coming back to the text. Sobriety is our responsibility in honor to God. Grace is God's generosity in aid towards us. Understand that we know that grace is not meritorious. You can't earn grace. Grace is a gift. Remember last week we were talking about Simon who was trying to purchase the Holy Ghost. You cannot procure grace by carnal means. The only way that you can procure grace is when God decides to grace you. When God decides to give you favor. You can position yourself, but you can't make the decision. Does that make sense? So it's the generosity, God's generosity towards us. Now the text says, set every expectation purely on the grace of the Messiah. As believers, we can expect grace. Somebody say, I expect grace. We can expect grace to empower us beyond the means of this miry clay. We can expect grace to endow us with supernatural aptitude to accomplish the will of God. We can expect grace to enhance us with divine wisdom to navigate within our assignments. That's what we can expect grace to do. Grace does not permit us to continue in sin. Grace is given to us to do what? So that we can accomplish the will of God. That's what grace is for. Anybody glad about grace? And sometimes, again, we mistake grace for mercy. They're under the same umbrella, but they are not the same thing. Grace, favor, and mercy fall under the umbrella of grace. But mercy is when what? You didn't get what you should have got. Grace is what he gives you to do his will, to empower you. Favor is when you get what you didn't even work for. That's the favor of God. Truth be told, mercy is a favor. God did you a favor this morning. Somebody ought to give him praise. I say, God did you a favor this morning. Some of us been looking for favor for a long time. Well, mercy was by your bedside, and you ought to give God a praise in this place. Word says, his mercy is a new what? Every morning I woke up with mercy by my bedside. So God did me a favor. This morning, you've been looking for one and you missed it. He gave you mercy. He gave us mercy. He gave me mercy too. Don't get it twisted. He gave us favor. Now, he gives us favor in other ones, the ones that we really want to see, but that was a favor that he did you this morning when he left mercy by your bedside. Are you understanding what I'm telling you? Let's go. Let's keep going. Obedience follows order. Simple, straight to the point. Obedience follows orders. Obedience is an absolute kingdom directive. There's nothing borderline about it. You cannot ride the fence of obedience. There's no riding the fence of obedience. I want to do right today. I think I might do right today. You can't. No, it's either you are in the will of God or you are not. So I have to ask myself the question, am I trying to straddle the fence? Am I trying to ride the fence? Am I trying to operate within a gray area? Or am I doing the will of God? How do I find the will of God? I got to have a relationship with him. How do I have a relationship with God? I have to get into his word to hear what he says. I hear from God all the time. That's not a statement of arrogance. That's a statement of study. Do you understand what I'm saying? I hear from God all the time. When I need to hear from God, I open up his word. I meditate. I pray. I do something to engage his wisdom. I do something to engage his wisdom. I must. Verse 14 says this, children of obedience, do not fashion yourselves according to the form of lust. This speaks to conduct. Somebody say conduct. Conduct is the manifestation of our mindset and or the follow-through of our heart set. Conduct, I'll say it again, is the manifestation of our mindset and or the follow-through of our heart set. You will only manifest what you're thinking about or what your heart tells you to do. Anybody ever followed their heart and went the wrong way? Anybody ever thought you knew everything and you found out that you didn't? What brings about the good things and the wrong things are the thought process and the heart process. So what is my mind set on? I should set my mind on things above. I should set my hope on him. I should set my hope on the grace of God being revealed to me. Are you hearing what I'm saying? That's what I should do. Verse 14 again says, the children of obedience do not fashion as in conform according to the form of lust in your ignorance. And get this, the greatest threat to security is internal corruption. We talked about that a couple messages ago. The greatest threat to security is internal corruption. But not just internal corruption, but internal indifference. When it doesn't matter to you, it ain't even that serious. Oh, yes, it is. Internal indifference. Also, ignorance. Ignorance, which means that I don't know some things. Now, take note, ignorance is not terminal, but it is lethal. Ignorance is not terminal, but it is lethal. Are you hearing what I'm saying? Lust, let me come back, but it's lethal. Inexperience. So what do we find? Where do we find that ignorance takes place? Because ignorance is not knowing, but sometimes not knowing is a matter of inexperience. I just don't have the experience. I've never been exposed to it, so I'm ignorant of it. If you haven't been exposed to a thing, you're ignorant of it. Again, it's not terminal, but it could be lethal. Oh, you understand what I'm saying? So it could be lethal. Illiteracy, now this is, oh Lord, help me. Illiteracy is something that we're facing in this time right now. It is interesting to me how we're in the age of information and have so many illiterate Christians. I don't mean can't read. I mean they can't read. Some of them cannot read because they will not read. They only want to hear what is spoken to them. I once told somebody, I was like, you know that if I started in Genesis and worked every chapter, every week, that I wouldn't even make it out of the book within a year. It's 66. You understand what I'm saying? I wouldn't even make it out of Genesis if I went through every chapter every week of the year. I wouldn't even make it through one book. So it's quite possible that in your tenure, in whatever house that you've been in, that maybe they didn't cover that topic. And here's the problem. We want to hold them responsible for it. When the word says study to show your... Okay. This is supposed to strengthen your study. This is supposed to bring revelation to your study. Yes, there's going to be some things introduced to you, but don't allow me to introduce you all the time to the God who you say you love. There's no way that a good friend of mine should tell me everything about my wife. If I'm going to a good friend of mine and asking him what my wife likes, that means that there's something wrong with the relationship between me and my wife, because I should have been around her long enough. I should have been concerned long enough to find out what interests she has. We're so busy trying to get God to look into our interests that we have forgotten that our interests are supposed to be devoted to him. This is not about self-gratification and self-interest. This is about surrender. Somebody say surrender. Inaccuracy. So now at least we're reading, but now we're reading selectively. We're reading in the tone of the one who taught us. We're reading in a tone of our attitude and our mood that day. Well, he ain't really saying that. I had a conversation with somebody a while ago and they said, I don't like that God is jealous. It don't really matter how you feel about it, quite frankly. The word said that he is a jealous God. You ought to be happy that you serve a jealous God. I don't know about you, but I'm happy that I serve a jealous God. That means that he wants me all to himself. He don't want to share me with nobody. I don't know about any of you that are in a relationship. I'm not trying to share my wife. The devil is a liar, and God ain't trying to share his bride. Do you understand what I'm telling you? God is not into sharing his bride. We are betrothed to him. We have not got married yet. We are betrothed to him. And those who are betrothed should have the conduct of one who's already married, which means that I don't flirt with other people. I don't entertain other people in that regard. Oh, we can have a conversation, but we ain't flirting. No. No. If I feel a flirtatious bone, I told y'all about a couple, I will look down in a minute. Nope. Because if you look too long, you might start lusting. Oh, come on, David. You look too long, you might start lusting. Sometimes you can't help what your eyes fall upon, but if you keep staring, you might get thoughts in your head. Ooh, what's that? I just want to ask a question. I just want to ask you a question. You don't want to ask no question. You want to discover something. Okay. Now I remind you, the most vulnerable entity in security is he who holds the keys and or has the codes. This is about access, ladies and gentlemen. Who has access to your mind? Who has access to your heart? How do you know if you're not sober? Okay, I need to talk to the saints that ain't been saved all their life. Anybody ever been intoxicated in here? You've been intoxicated. Sometimes you woken up in places where you didn't know how you got there. Sometimes you done things, they call it liquid courage, right? You get on that liquid and all of a sudden you braver than you ever been before. That's that liquid courage. Okay, calm down, little man. Deflate your chest. You about to get popped in the mouth now. Calm down. But what'll happen is it'll change your character and you'll get swole up. You don't want none of this. I was the peaceful one. I don't know what's wrong with me. I would when that happened to me, I ain't trying to go back there. I'd be all peaceful. Y'all calm down. Y'all. That was me. But what'll happen is sometimes it'll bring out the ugly in you. It'll bring out the ugly in you because what are they meant to do? They're meant to bring you up or down. That's what intoxicants do. They bring you up or they bring you down. They call them uppers and downers. Why? Because they're trying to shift your mindset. They're trying to shift your psychology. They're trying to shift your emotions. That's what it is. That's why we need to be what? Sober. I don't need to be drunk with pride or power or poverty or pain or poison. Nothing. Somebody say sober. Now let's be clear. Lust should be a former issue. Lust should be a formal issue. Lust seeks after the forbidden. Lust seeks after the forbidden. Lust is what happened in the garden. Is what she saw. Is what he saw. Is what Adam saw. Adam saw, and he looked, and he had seen it before. Oh, come on, church. He looked, but he had seen it before. It wasn't something that he didn't see. He had seen it before. God told him what it was. But then he started looking at it. And that's what lust does. Lust seeks the forbidden. I don't want to just look at it. Now I want to touch it. If I could just get my hands on it. See, putting your hands on it wasn't the issue. But once you put your hands on it, now it feels some kind of way. How do you pick your fruit? You pick your fruit by feel. You look at it, does it have the right color? Does it have any marks on it that I can see where it's been bruised? Because I don't want bruised fruit. God help me here. I don't want no bruised fruit. I don't want no rotten fruit. Truth be told, most time I won't even pick fruit that isn't ripe yet. If them bananas are a little bit too green, I'll wait till next week. But what do? You look at it. Some people smell them because it should have a certain fragrance, right? So you know, oh God help me here, you know how good fruit smells. Let me come to this side, see if y'all get what I'm talking about. So you know how good fruit should smell. Because if the smell is off, isn't it interesting? If you smell something that is funky to you, not only will you put it down, but you'll turn your face from it. Why? Because that which you did let in your system, you want out quickly as possible. You haven't consumed it yet. You've only smelled it. So you have to go through this process. Remember I tell you it's a process? So now you've seen, now you've touched. Now, let me see what it tastes like. And even the tasting, in and of itself, isn't the issue. Because you still, at this point, have an opportunity to spit it out. You still got an opportunity to spit it out. But no. We're consumers. Oh, I hope that y'all heard me. We buy into the wrong things. We're consumers. Our appetites are misguided. We're consumers. And we'll consume these things, and what'll happen? And once you consume it, see, ingestion is one thing, digestion is another thing. Once you've digested a thing, it now becomes a part of you. And once fallacy became a part of them, they were now faulty individuals. I could talk about the garden for days. Do you understand what I'm saying? So lust should be a formal issue. Lust seeks after the forbidden. It is sinful interest. It is sinful interest. What interest do you have that are sinful? Check this out. There are some things that are sinful to you that are not sinful to others. There were things, we always use the allergies. There are things that you know that you're allergic to. It would be sinful for you to put something that you are allergic to into your body. That is a sin against your body. To put some, why would you do that to yourself? Put something that you know. And there are some of us that are doing it now. We're putting things in our body that we know are poisonous to us, but it tastes so good. Sin, I will reiterate until the cows go home, baby. Sin is delicious. It's delicious. It tastes good. You want a big old bowl, not a little bowl. No. You go in there, you get a Tupperware out for that one. You understand what I'm saying? You know how my daddy would do ice cream. Don't you bring my daddy no scoop. That's an insult to him. He don't want no scoop. He wants a bowl. Do you understand what I'm telling you? He wants a bowl. And that's how we don't want no scoop of sin. We want the whole bowl because it's delicious. And while you're eating it, it's delicious. And then after you finish with it, what happens? I feel disgusting. Remember the son of David who lusted after his sister? And he lusted after her so hard he had to get her. And when he intruded upon her and had his way, he hated himself. But he was too coward. He was too cowardly to take himself out. So he took out. That's what we do. We don't want to deal with us. We don't want to deal with us. You don't even understand all that lusting, and you wind up hating what you were lusting after once you had it. So why go through the process? Realize that that ain't for you to touch. That ain't for you to taste. You cannot handle everything. Okay. Are you with me? You hear what I'm saying? So we got to be careful of these things that we lust after. 1 John, chapter 2, verse 16 speaks to the lust of the flesh and the lust of the eyes, the optical gate and the tactile gate. Are you hearing what I'm saying? Lust of the flesh is the outward sensual gratification. That's what it is. Lust of the flesh, I want to feel something outwardly that's going to gratify me sensually. Lust of the eyes, internal vain imaginations. This is why Christ says if you look at her the wrong way, you've already sinned, because in your mind, you've already trespassed against her. In your mind, you've already violated him. Hello? There are some people that we have been getting to look at, and we done already did everything that we wanted to them in our mind. Some of it sensual, some of it savagery. Oh yeah. There's some people that we done torn up in our minds. Come on, you ain't got to tell me. I already know. There's some people you look at, you be like, man, they already knew. Already knew. You know, this is how we get off. You better be glad that God helped me not to knock you out. Are you serious right now? You serious? Get real. That junk is a mess, ain't it? Furthermore, in the same text of 1 John chapter 2, we find lust is worldly and not ordained by God. Lust is worldly and not ordained by God. Therefore, intruder alert. Intruder alert. Y'all ever heard that little crazy? Intruder alert. 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 Is that actually doing anything? Intruder alert. Is that doing anything? It's doing one thing. It's letting you know that there's an intruder present. Now you must do something about it. And sometimes that's what's happening with us. We feel lust creep up on us, and lust ain't only sexual. Do you understand what I'm saying? But it is sensual. Understand the difference? So one time we hear intruder alert, that don't feel right. Intruder alert. Why is my heart thinking that right now? Intruder alert. Why do I want to hurt that person right now? Intruder alert. Why do I want to cut them off? Intruder alert. If God didn't give you that clarity, why are you so ready? Because sometimes the people that we cut off are the people who tell us the truth. Be careful who you cut off, because you might be losing your lane to the truth. Because we'll say things, and we do need to be honest with ourselves, but that's a difficult thing to do without accountability. It's a difficult thing to do. Lust looks to seize our desires and situate them above the Most High God. Whatever your desire is. That's why I don't want to just leave it at sexuality. I want to talk about sensual. I want to talk about whatever your desire is, your gift, your talent, your relationships, whatever it is that you desire above God, what lust will do is attach itself to that. It will seize it. It's trying to wreck your gate. It's trying to bulldoze your gate. It's trying to bum rush your gate and overtake you, seize your gate. Once you break down the walls, sometimes you won't destroy the fort because you want it for yourself. And this is what lust wants out of us. It doesn't want to destroy you. It needs you to operate. It doesn't want to destroy you. It wants to destroy your relationship with God. Because what it wants to do is use you to hack into somebody else's system. Again, we go back to the garden. The serpent goes to Eve because he knows he can hack into Adam. Nothing happens. Nothing happens when Eve eats. Nothing. Nothing happens when Eve eats. Nothing. Nothing happens. It's when Adam. Blame it on Eve all you want to. When Adam did it, he said, hold on, wait a minute, stop. I told you. You knew better than this. We had conversations about this thing. And look what you've done. You've sought after that which was forbidden. And the seeking wasn't enough. You had to consume it. So now it's a part of you. I had built you for eternity. Y'all know that, right? Man was built for eternity. That's why he's still trying to get us back to that state. He's trying to get us back to his intention. He wanted us to live eternally with him. But we messed that up. Because we didn't understand that in being a sentry on my gates, I must understand the parameters of the kingdom. Being a sentry on the gate means I must understand the parameters. Everybody that's been on any kind of duty in the military understands that I got to know what my perimeter lines are. I got to know that anything on the other side of that gate, as long as it doesn't come up to me threatening, is no threat to me. I got to keep my eyes on it, but as long as you don't come up here with nothing threatening, stay out there, do whatever it is that you want to. But if you try to come across this gate, understand, it's going to be some furniture moving. Do you understand what I'm saying? Yeah, rounds flying for real. It ain't gonna, it's gonna be incoming for you, outgoing for me. So we gotta understand that we operate within liberty has parameters. It is not without parameters, it has parameters. We treat liberty like anarchy. We want to do whatever it is we want to do. I'll get to that in a minute. Intruder alert. Saints of God, our life is one of abnegation. We renounce our own fleshly interests in the favor of God's will. We have a life of abnegation, which means that there's simply this. I can't, look, if it's between my will and God's will's always going to win. It is the nevertheless. It is interesting how so many things, so many principles come from the garden. Whether it be Eden or whether it be Gethsemane. So many principles come from those gardens. So we got to understand where we're planted, what's our resources, where we're getting our strength from, what we're tapping into. Because a tree, you can't water a tree with alcohol, right? Grow a little tree, you're going to poison it. You're going to poison it. You got to water that tree. But check this out. If you pour substance, anything liquid. There was a fan, as they call him, a fanatic, who tried to poison these trees. I forget which campus it was on, but they had these very famous trees, and they were so spiteful in their fandom, they tried to poison the trees. And what they did to try to poison the trees was pour poison into them. This is what you and I do. When we take on anything that is not of God, we're poisoning the tree. When we become such fanatics, or we let people get to us, when we let people get access to us, what they'll try and do is poison the tree. Because if I poison the tree, then I poison the fruit. If I poison the tree, I ain't even got to worry about fruit, because the tree won't be there. But we still talking about lust. Does that make sense to everybody? So we got to have a life of abnegation. We must forsake the former lust through forgiveness from God who first loved us. I'll say that one more time. We must forsake the former lust through forgiveness from God who loved us first. How do I forsake lust? Because if I seek lust, lust is going to become a problem. So my countermeasure to seeking lust is to forsake it. I must forsake it. That means once I sense Intruder Alert, I've got to now forsake this thing that's trying to creep into my system. This feeling, and it's not going to feel nasty to me. It's going to feel inviting to me. But I can't accept every invitation. God help me here. I can't accept every invitation. Another key element, if you will. I want to stay here for a little bit, and then I'll leave you go. Holiness is not an option. It's a requirement. It's a requirement. Somebody say it's a requirement. There's nothing trivial about holiness. He says, be ye holy. Why? For I am holy. And truth be told, there should be a substantial distinction between our former self and our renewed being. Does that make sense? There should be a substantial difference. I should be the one that should be able to tell that there's a difference between the old me, not from a point of nostalgia, but from a point of deliverance. Because sometimes we talk about the old man, the former lust, as if we missed them. I remember when I used to. I could be. What do you mean you could be? I could be out here robbing somebody. What do you mean you could be? I couldn't be out there robbing nobody. I've been changed. I don't even think about that no more. I've been renewed in my mind. I'm not saying I'm delivered from every single thing, but there are things that I've been delivered from that I don't even think about no more. If I've been delivered from it, why would I go back to it? When somebody delivers mail to your house, if you want what's in the package, do you send it back? Here's your sign. Our walk of faith should be the character witness of our transformation. Did you hear what I said? Our walk of faith should be a character witness of our transformation. In other words, how people see you walk, we were talking about this morning, how people see you walk ought to be your witness. Somebody say, my walk should be my witness. My walk should be my witness. Simple and plain. Pay close attention. Liberty under grace will never compromise holiness. Liberty under grace will never compromise holiness. Being in this dispensation of grace, some people have really twisted this thing. You got this hyper grace, you got cheap grace. Right? All these things that God didn't say about grace, we now say, God gonna grace me to do this, God gonna grace you to do his will. That's what God will grace you to do. And so even though I've been given liberty, somebody say, I have liberty. We have liberty, but you don't have the liberty to sin. You don't have the liberty to operate in fallacy. No, you do not. And so sometimes we mistake grace and liberty for anarchy and whatever it is, and self-gratification, whatever it is we want to do. So liberty under grace never compromises holiness. My liberty in God never compromises my holy. I could be free and still be separate. I could be free. That's the concept. Because some people fight with that. Hold on, what do you mean? I could be free but still be separate. I'm free to do whatever I want to do as long as God approves of it. As long as it's under holiness, I'm okay. But understand this, everything in this temple is holy. My eyes are holy. My nose is holy. My mouth is holy. My ears are holy. My hands are holy. He said, be ye holy. That is a holistic approach to life. Holiness is a holistic approach to life. Everything about me ought to be separate from my sinful self. That means I ought not put my eyes on everything. Why? Because my eyes are holy. I should not you won't put your nose on a fruit that already looks bruised. Why? Because in your mind you already know my temple is too holy to even smell that bruised thing. I'm definitely not going to touch it. Because if I touch it, I allow it to intrude upon me. Matter of fact, it's not even intrudence anymore. Now it's allowance. Lust will try to intrude upon us, but some of us won't even let it intrude. We'll let this, come on in. The water's fine. Do not forget, sobriety, obedience, and holiness are gate essentials. Sobriety, obedience, and holiness, they are gateway essentials. I got to have them on my gates. I got to be sober on my gates. That's my responsibility. Say, that's my responsibility. I got to be obedient to God because my obedience to God keeps me in right relationship with him. That means that I understand his commands. Get what I'm saying? That means I'm always getting fresh downloads. I'm getting fresh up. Whatever he has for me, once my obedience is intact, I'm always in concert and in contact with him. I got to be sober. I got to be obedient. I got to be holy. I got to be holy. I got to be holy. I got to be separate. That means I need to separate myself from my former lust because lust should be a former issue. It should not be a present struggle. He said your former lust and your ignorance. What is it that you don't know that's still called, that's about to kill you? That's why we got to study. That's why we got to hear the word so that we become aware. You know what? I didn't even think that was still getting me. It's still getting me. How many of you was like, you know what? I thought I was finished with that, but it's still getting me. It's still getting me. That's okay. That's okay. That means that you're aware that you still need help. I'm responsible for my sobriety, but his generosity of grace is going to help me in areas where I lack. The former lust, get no quarter. No quarter. Somebody say no quarter. No quarter for the former lust. I've got to stop seeking things which are forbidden. I've got to stop having sinful interest. I got to stop eating things which appease my carnal appetite. I must stop it. A lot of this stuff is on me. We want to blame it on the enemy. And the enemy, we already got that right, no quarter for the enemy. Well, sometimes the enemy is the inner me. The enemy wouldn't be a problem if I had released the former me. I mortify my body daily. Which means every time that joker think about getting up, I kill him off. I kill him off. Why? No quarter. No quarter. Because the old you wants to get out. Matter of fact, let's change that. The old you wants to get in. The old you wants back in. That's why I feel good to do some of that old stuff that you used to do. You know, when you snap on somebody, I told y'all it might not be the snapping on somebody, but it's something that you used to do back in the day, and it slip up and creep in, and you do it, you be like, oh, you got to get that rush for a minute. Remember, the rush comes before the disgust. Let me say it again. The rush comes before the disgust. You don't think people get high, don't want to crash? Every high has a crash. And nobody wants to experience that crash, so what? They keep getting high. And that's what some of us do. We don't want to crash, so we just keep sinning. Because if we know we ever come back to right standing, we go, oh my God, I can't believe I just did that. The old man wants back in. and we can't let him. Former lust wants in. Former lust of ignorance wants his way back in. Ignorance wants to creep in there. Anything you don't know, you need to make yourself aware of. If you don't know, ask, and it shall be asked with the X or the S. Ask, and it shall be. Ask that thing. You understand what I'm saying? No quarter for the former lust. Give God praise all over this place.